Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lowdown Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined by nobody, including the Lakers. The Lakers did not join us tonight. The Lakers wind up losing in Dallas to a Dallas Mavericks team that didn't have Kyrie Irving, didn't have Luka Doncic. The final is 118-97. The Lakers get smoked by a team that didn't have either of its offensive engines. Never looked all that interested in the game. Had that one cool LeBron dunk highlight. And I thought maybe, just maybe, that would kind of wake everybody up because they were kind of listless before that moment. And you're like, okay, maybe that wakes everybody up. Usually, if you get a play like that, and if LeBron seems, because he was relatively interested early. Anthony Davis, weird AD game here tonight. The stats look okay, 21 and 12. Didn't shoot the ball very well. I just thought Derek Lively, who was dealing with foul trouble all game, really gave him problems. But yeah, it was just like I don't know. The Lakers again lose in Dallas, 118-97. So today on the show, we're going to be talking about that. We'll talk about my report on Jarred Vanderbilt that was essentially confirmed by the Lakers. And we will talk about one of my concerns. You know, again, Harrison and I talked yesterday about how, like, there's the information I'm getting and I'm gathering, and then my like response to that information, and trying to translate that in written form and then in podcast form. But we'll talk a little bit about that. Get your guys' thoughts on this game and that report, and the notion of Jarred Vanderbilt potentially playing some 5. I'll explain that too. And all of that good stuff. So a quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, if you guys are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@Lakers Lounge, where you can find the show there. Then if you guys are listening to the show in the morning via podcast, please hit subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcasts, preferably on Odyssey, because I'm a company man. All right. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So again, the final 118-97. The Lakers were like relatively close. They led in the first quarter, and then saw that lead go away in the second quarter. Saw Dallas's lead expand in the third quarter, and then just completely quit in the fourth. Just such a weird game here because the Lakers came into this one as, I believe, the 4 seed, with Dallas being the 5 seed. Dallas, you're thinking maybe might slide down the standings, and maybe you'll get a little bit of help there by way of injury. Dallas didn't get that memo. They played their asses off, and it was pretty clear their approach to this. And this is not all that surprising given Jason Kidd's kind of coaching style. They basically just picked on guys all game. JJ Redick said it after the game that the thing that killed the Lakers in this one was ISO stuff that the Mavericks were doing. They picked on Austin. They picked on Dalton. They picked on anybody. They picked on Rui a bunch. They just, like, anybody who they thought was a mismatch or the worst defender on the court. Essentially, Jason Kidd's offense without Kyrie, without Luka, was like, all right, whoever that guy is guarding. Spencer Dinwiddie, I thought, played really well in this one. Reminded everybody, oh yeah, that's right. Lakers probably shouldn't have let him walk for nothing. Dinwiddie was a plus 24 in the game. Game high plus 24. Thoroughly outplayed Austin. Thoroughly outplayed basically everybody else on the court. Was incredible. And yeah, like that's basically it. The Mavericks basically handed the ball to Dinwiddie, or they handed the ball to anybody who they thought could get a step on whoever was guarding them. They would get into the paint and either finish or kick it out to a shooter. Dallas shot really well on 3-pointers in this one, 18 of 38 for to the tune of 47% from 3. And that's, basically it. Dallas went again 18 of 38. The Lakers were 11 of 35 from 3-point range. That is 7 threes. That is difference right there is Dallas was creating better looks and then capitalizing on those looks. The Lakers, I thought, were kind of stuck in the mud all game and then couldn't make shots as a result of it. So, yeah, I have a few points to make from this one. I think we got to talk about the starting lineup. We got to talk about the Rui aspect of that starting lineup. We got to talk about the culture here again, which is again I feel kind of lacking. And then again, we'll let that kind of lead into the Vanderbilt stuff. So JJ, I said there was about a 35% chance I thought that JJ might tweak the starting lineup coming into this one. I think he probably almost definitely would have tweaked that starting lineup if the Mavericks had Luka. As the Lakers lost the way that they did, and with Rui playing the way that he did, I think it's a decent chance that we see a different starting lineup next game. But we did get the same starting group: Austin, Max, Rui, LeBron, and AD. I think it's a pretty good. I don't know, maybe pretty good's a little strong, but I think there's a decent chance that we get Dorian in that starting group next game. The bench has really struggled to score since D'Lo was traded, which I don't think should surprise anybody. He was doing very good. He was playing very well as that kind of engine and rudder with the second unit's offense. They frankly miss him in that regard. Gabe came back tonight from injury, played 24 minutes, 0 of 4 from the field, was a -5 in those 24 minutes, didn't score, had 1 rebound and a couple assists. You look at the bench, right? You had Dorian who got in there. He had 11 points on 3 of 4 shooting. Jackson was abysmal tonight. He played 12 minutes, was in foul trouble for all of that. At one point, picked up 4 fouls in about 4 minutes. And then I don't think we saw him again. As I mentioned, Gabe, and then Dalton had a bit of a bounce back game, which was kind of nice to see. 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3-point range for 13 points. That second unit I think could honestly use Rui as a safety valve, as a mismatch. Somebody who takes advantage of those mismatches in that second unit. It would give him a little bit more freedom, a little bit more time on the ball. I think that's probably where this will be heading relatively soon, maybe even next game. And then, we'll see, with Dorian moving into the starting lineup and then Vando potentially coming back in a week or so. Vando and Rui in that second unit is ironically the forward combination I really wanted to see last year. And then we're finally getting it now, but as a bench pairing. So we'll see kind of how that looks. I got to play this. This, I think this summarizes exactly why Rui Hachimura probably won't be starting very much. I saw it happen live. Tweeted it out. I'm pretty sure Rui just ran in a whole circle on defense, which is crazy because he didn't have to. It was a super weird possession, and then it was exacerbated. Rui's pointless effort there was kind of exacerbated. Now I'm just confused. Strokes are fun. But it was made worse, compounded by the fact that LeBron doesn't move on this defensive possession. This is I thought a pretty succinct summary of the game.
To go in Houston. Grimes, corner, wide open 3. How many times did this throw?
Again, I'm going to play it one more time. Watch Rui in the bottom right corner, and also watch LeBron not move from the right block on an entire defensive possession. That mostly takes place on his side of the court.
To go in Houston. Grimes, corner, wide wide open three. How many times did this team?
LeBron's like, what the heck? What the heck? It's like, dude, if you don't move on defense, that's normally how it's going to go. And then Rui is just kind of running pointlessly in circles. It kind of reminded me of Semi-Pro, where Will Ferrell, it was one of my favorite movies of all time. Will Ferrell's like, I'm going rogue. And he's like running in the running off to the side in circles. And Woody Harrelson's character is like, no rogue. We don't need a rogue. We need you to like stay disciplined. He's like, I'm going rogue. Here I go. Yeah, and everybody's like looking on at Will Ferrell's character going rogue, and it's like, what is this guy doing? And I kind of feel like even the Dallas Mavericks were watching Rui run in the circle there, and it's like, what is happening right now? It's super weird possession. And yeah, like I just don't think Rui isn't good enough offensively to make up for those kind of lapses, right? What the Lakers need in that starting unit, or from the other forward in that starting unit, is consistency. It's effort, defensive like knowing what the defense needs in that moment. All things that Dorian Finney-Smith is frankly good at. I think it's a good chance that JJ, who I'm not going to go so far as to say like has been looking for reasons to bench Rui for Dorian, but is certainly like, if you asked him with truth serum which player he trusts more, I don't think it's particularly close that he would trust Dorian a hell of a lot more than he trusts Rui, both because of their experience together as players, and then also because of his time coaching Rui. Rui finished this game, by the way, with 1 rebound. 1 more than you and I. That also, like, Rui's kind of sometimes there, sometimes not there, all of that stuff. Like, that's honestly my biggest question with JJ wanting to implement this, super switchy, athletic, physical type of identity. It's one thing to say you want that, but you really have to kind of like coach the culture to get there. Think of the best small ball lineups of all time. And you would watch those lineups play defensively, and all of those players were just running around like psychopaths defensively to make up for the lack of size. They would pressure on the perimeter. They would, when they switch screens, they would trap and do stuff like that. And then when the shot would go up, every single player on the court would put a forearm in somebody's chest to knock them backwards so that they would have a little bit more room to go out and get the basketball. Those like small ball teams, people tend to forget or overlook how physical those teams have to play. And they have to do that every single possession. That is ingrained in the fiber of those teams, those organizations, and every player that accepts the challenge of playing that way. And like, if you look at the Lakers, like, how many guys could you say are ready to play that way, right? Say Anthony Davis, sure, because he'll play just about anyway. I don't think we could say that about LeBron every single possession. I don't think you could really say that about Reeves either. I think Max fits into that approach. I think Dorian fits into that approach. When he's healthy, I think Jarred Vanderbilt fits into that approach. Gabe somewhat, I think, fits into the approach. And then it's like Jackson Hayes definitely doesn't. Dalton Knecht definitely doesn't. Rui Hachimura definitely doesn't. And like, that's why I think, again, separating what I am telling you guys that I'm hearing about what the Lakers have in mind whenever Vanderbilt gets back, that difference between what I'm hearing and then how I feel about what I'm what I'm hearing, those are two very different things. I want to be clear. I would prefer the Lakers go out and get a better backup center, because, like, for a variety of reasons, I never want to see Jackson Hayes put on a Lakers uniform ever again. I haven't wanted him on the Lakers from day one. And now they like seriously rely on this guy who probably shouldn't even be in the league right now. By the way, like the league basically saying like, all right, we take these things very, very seriously because of a video of him pushing his significant other went viral, and we have to say something, and we're taking it super duper seriously. Months after the fact, oh, wait, what? We were supposed to do something with that? Not that anybody actually expected them to do anything with it because of double jeopardy and all that stuff, but not even a statement since then of like, yeah, whoops. We probably should have tried to find that video in the first place or make sure that video never sees the light of day. I would prefer the first approach there. But yeah, it's just it's I get why JJ would want to play that way. All coaches, frankly, wish that they could coach a team that plays that way. I remember back when I was coaching, essentially when I had so I ran so first I coached a JV team and then assisted with the varsity team at my old alma mater. And then that was with the guys. And then with the girls, I went on the girls' side of things and then coached. I was hired to run the program coming off of winning the league one or two times in with the guys' side of things. And the first year that I ran my own program had this incredible senior class, right? Had multiple girls who went out and played in college from then on. We played in a really tough league and I think like tied for second in it. Won a CIF game, had a great season, right? And then the following year that group graduated and we were pretty bereft of talent with that second team. And I looked at the roster and we had like nobody taller than like 5'8". We were tiny. And I was like, all right, the only way that we're going to have any chance at success here is to play with our hair on fire and just absolutely out hustle, out physical, out everything, all of these other teams. And unfortunately, the year like the girls from the really good team, they played way harder and were way better. And wouldn't you know it, that team was way better. That second year, I could scream till I'm blue in the face or say like this is the only chance that we have at succeeding. We played like a spread offense that I actually thought was kind of cool, but it was a lot of read and react, and it was a younger team, so I don't think that was very smart on my part. But it was like, at least defensively, it was like, we're going to switch everything. We're going to get out there. We're going to press. We're going to do, put a whole bunch of pressure on the ball. And we're going to do everything that we possibly can to make them as uncomfortable as possible to give ourselves any chance. We're going to play super physical because the smaller team tends to get held to a much lower standard when it comes to what you're allowed to do on a court. Had it all planned out, and it's like at the end of the day, like either that team has that identity or it doesn't. Some of that was on me, and some of it also obviously also was on the team. And I think with JJ with this Lakers team, they can either like he's going to try this, and we'll see what it looks like whenever Jarred Vanderbilt is available, but also he doesn't have enough guys to hold people accountable when they don't abide by the his teachings, right? His approach here. So like when he says like, when he gets frustrated at Rui for not boxing out or not making any effort towards the ball whatsoever on defense after working their ass off for a stop. And then he goes like, all right, that's it. Rui, get out of there. Hold on. Can't do that. Dorian just got off of the court. Rui, stay in there, but please try harder. Like that's what he's going to run into, right? And again, like you go through the list. One, Anthony Davis, LeBron, Max is the third one. Dorian is the fourth one. Gabe is the fifth, and then maybe you get into like Austin is like the sixth. They have their rotation of guys. Oh, and Vando. They have a rotation of 7 guys who I think would actually fit in that approach and that culture And even there, like, I'm not positive about LeBron at 40. I'm not even necessarily positive about Anthony Davis playing that way. Maybe if you do like, switching 1 through 4 and then AD kind of anchors it, maybe that's how you do it. But there aren't enough bodies on this roster to actually who would actually commit to that style of play offensively and more importantly defensively. And like we're on however many years of the LeBron AD era, and that's just not the approach that those guys are going to be the centerpieces of at this stage of both of their careers. 2019, 2020, 100%. That team was filled with dogs and they all got after it. They on top of getting after it, they were bigger, they were stronger, they were faster. This team is slower, smaller, and weaker than that group. And now they're being asked to play in with that kind of approach defensively. And I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. And it's probably it's going to happen whenever Vanderbilt is actually available. But I just don't see the vision like from guys 1 through 10 in the rotation, or even 1 through 8 in the rotation. And if you try to go the remaining, let's see, they played their 36th game tonight. So I mean, that leaves you with 46 games. Yeah. Is it 40? Yeah. 46 games. Like you have 46 games. And if you try to get through 46 of those things with a rotation of 7 guys who you actually trust to play in that style, not even counting the type of injuries that somebody like Jarred Vanderbilt are bringing into this equation, like that's just, I feel like, JJ is probably going to have to relent a little bit. And if he does relent, then Rob Pelinka is going to have to get active and go out and get better centers than Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood, because JJ, for whatever reason, just doesn't trust Christian Koloko. Let's talk about Jarred Vanderbilt. I narrated the piece in yesterday's lowdown, offering up all the information that I had. I'm going to give a quick shout out here. My colleague and editor at times over at Clutch Points helped with the reporting on this. Said he was hearing some stuff, and I went out and contacted some of the people that I rely on. They're close to the Lakers. Was met with a little skepticism with Vando. So the best kind of time frame that I was able to nail down was that the Lakers are hoping that he's going to be able to play in the next week or two at kind of worst. Then a little bit later, right before the game, the Lakers released an official statement saying that Jarred Vanderbilt has been ramping up, has made significant progress, and is getting ready to and has been participating in 5-on-5 full contact. And they're going to go through a week of that, reevaluate him at the end of that week, and then hopefully at the end of that week, maybe he's able to play. So we're recording this on Tuesday, January 7th. The Lakers, I'll go ahead and pull up their schedule really quick. If we're recording this on a Tuesday, the Lakers play, let's see. So they played tonight, and then they have Thursday against Charlotte, Saturday at home against San Antonio, Monday also at home against San Antonio, and then their next game after a week from now would be on Wednesday against the Miami Heat, also at home. Nice thing is for the Lakers, they have a nice little homestand here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games all at home in a row, which means that like Vanderbilt doesn't have to worry about traveling with the team. He can just, he can be home, focus on his rehab. He's nice and close to the Lakers facilities. They'll have some time to practice, right? So the Lakers will travel back tonight, back home tonight, and then they play again Thursday. Might practice on Wednesday, I doubt it. We'll probably practice, they play Thursday. They'll probably practice Friday between the Thursday-Saturday game. Then they might practice again Sunday and before the Sunday that splits the Saturday Monday games against San Antonio. And then you have another opportunity for practice between Monday and Wednesday. And so like you're looking at, 4 practice opportunities. Maybe they actually practice in maybe a couple of those. Um, and use that time to get Vanderbilt reacquainted with his or acquainted with his role in JJ Redick's vision of the team. They get him up to conditioning. They see how his body responds to full contact stuff, and hopefully he's able to go right away on January 15th. And then at worst, a couple weeks from now would put it at Tuesday, January 21st, when they would play the Washington Wizards that night. So, yeah, I again, I try to stay out of injury stuff for a variety of reasons. One of which is that there's just so many potential sources of that information who all have their various reasons for telling the story one way or another. The reason that I reported on this one was because there was a ton of noise out there about this. And it was like a relatively quick shift because people were like somewhat pessimistic and a little iffy about like, man, I hope we're able to get Vando at all this year. And then he's been working out pretty hard trying to get his conditioning back in order. The swelling, as JJ told reporters the other day, dissipated quite a bit. I looked into that, and then with the help of Tomer, continued that line of questioning. And we arrive here where we are now, where, people are feeling pretty good, knock on wood, that not on Christian, but on, the surface, that maybe Vanderbilt will be, a full go these next couple of practices, and then responds well enough to it and is ready to go again Wednesday, January 15th against Miami. So I want to clarify one thing. I wrote in my piece, and I don't have it pulled up, but I wrote in my piece that JJ and his coaching staff envision Jarred Vanderbilt playing some time at center. Now, I did write in that same piece that he was going to play up and down the front court, right? So we'll spend some time at small forward, some time at power forward, some time at center. Those minutes that he's at center, I don't think he's going to be the biggest guy on the court. I think if he plays center, air quotes on center, it will be in lineups with like Dorian and LeBron and maybe even Rui too, and Max and other guys that can switch up and down the lineup. And when Vando spends time at center, it will be like kind of matchup and possession dependent. And like it's not like they basically have Vando subbing in to a lineup or playing in a lineup of like Gabe and Austin and Max and Dalton and Vando, as we saw with Darvin, who I don't think it was ever very comfortable executing small ball, and thus really kind of struggled with those principles. If we see Vando out there at, again, quote unquote center, it would be in lineups that are big from start to finish of those things. So, that are big enough elsewhere to make up, to add, to maybe have some physical advantages in those matchups that would allow them to then help in other matchups on that court, that would be that would have disadvantages physically for the Lakers. So, yeah, when I say Vando playing some center, defensively, it means that they'll be switching everything and everybody just kind of plays to a certain extent sometime at quote unquote center. I actually meant more offensively, that the Lakers would be putting him in like the dunker spot, or they will be, having him set a whole bunch of screens and being the guy handing the ball off in DHO sets, stuff like that, you know, allow him to have more use than if he was at, say, the 3 in those sets and was standing in the corner where teams just could completely ignore him. He'll probably spend some time in the corner, but if he goes there to the corner, the point will be so that he can crash the offensive glass from the corner. So like that, I want to be absolutely clear on what I think and what I've been told that's supposed to look like whenever he gets out there. Part of the reason too is that, like, the reason for this is if you play a center like Jackson Hayes, and then you have Vando also out there, and then if you have like Gabe at point in those lineups, now all of a sudden you have 3 either non-shooters whatsoever, and like Vando and Hayes, but then you also have an inconsistent shooter in Gabe, and your spacing just goes completely to shit. So what the Lakers are basically hoping for is, if you have Vando out there and he plays in these kind of smaller lineups, that allows you to get a shooter out there to make up for what he doesn't offer in that regard. So, yeah, just want to be absolutely clear on what this is supposed to look like, what it could look like, and again, what I've been told what it looks like, and like how I feel about it versus what I've actually been told. Where, like, when people are telling me these things, yeah, it's a back and forth. I typically just like I'm very conversational in my reporting. But it's, so like if somebody says like, yeah, we're thinking about Vando at the 5, I'm usually like, oh, okay. Do you want to clarify? Because like I have the same questions as a lot of you guys. Where it's like the Vando at the 5, huh? Like he's already like not the most physical player. He looks a lot better against smaller type of players, and tends to struggle against physicality. Are we sure about that? And then like getting it kind of clarified. I think is all kind of part of that conversation, and then relaying that conversation to you guys is kind of the name of the game. All right, let's see. Let's end with some super comments or some comments too, like whatever it looks like. But we'll start with this thing. All right, Justin Tyndall kicks us off with Luka and Kyrie average 52.4 points per game, 12.9 rebounds per game, and 12.7 assists per game. Yet they shoot 52% from the field and hit 18 threes at 47%. We stick on the road. We play with no energy. Games like these, why would Pelinka use the first rounders? All right, so I've seen a ton of this take. This game is a great reminder as to why Pelinka would be reluctant to use the first rounders. I get it. It's usually said out of frustration. But I still think this is more of a throwaway game that we get angry about in the moment, and then you hope to move on as quickly as possible. Again, this entire season has been defined by it's been a roller coaster. Lakers will, start of the year 3-0. Woo! Look at this! Look at this go! Look at this. Really believe in this team. And then like boom, lost 4 or 5. You're like, all right, blow it up. This team sucks. LeBron needs to retire. And then they win like I'm gonna go through the season. We'll go through this. Screw it. 1-3 in a row. Woo! Lost 4 or 5. 1-6 in a row. Woohoo! Lost 3 or 4. Oh, come on. No, lost 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 6. And actually, as a part of that larger stretch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 losses to 3 wins in 11 game stretch. Right? Giant fart noise. Follow that up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins in 10 games. Okay. we're back. Right? I really want to make a hat for the show, a lounge hat, like an official lounge apparel hat that says like, we are so back on the front of it. And then, oh my God, blow it up on the back of it. And we can just keep flipping it, backwards, forwards, depending on how bad things are or how great things are. So on the heels of that 7 out of 10 stretch that the Lakers were just on, boom, loss at Houston, boom, embarrassing loss at Dallas without Kyrie and Luka. Like, at the end of the day, the Lakers are probably going to finish the season a little bit above 500. That means that there are going to be just a bit more better feelings about this team than bad feelings about this team. And like, is that something that Rob Pelinka should invest in? Okay, if you want to have that conversation in a macro sense, I guess I'm here for it. But the problem there is that, like, and we see this in the NFL, and like, the reason I bring up the NFL is because this is what Adam Silver is trying to build towards. He wants a thoroughly paradised league. He wants a league where everybody sits, either at or barely above below 500. So if you are one of those barely above 500 teams, to me, in this like apron world, as Rob Pelinka wants to call it, I do think that that is a team worth investing in. And those teams that are like barely below 500, those teams that are like going to be close to the bottom of the league, like, those are the ones that you should not be investing in. But as it stands right now, even after these two annoying losses, the Lakers still find themselves at 20-16. They are still going to be fighting for playoff seeding that should probably be outside of the play-in realm, so long as Anthony Davis and LeBron James stay healthy, as JJ also figures out the best way to kind of coach this team. I like, this loss sucks. Really frustrated. Like, Jen had to ask me about like 7 different times today if I was okay, and I was like, doing great, babe. Fantastic. Like it was just, trust me, my fists were balled the whole time. Tweeting with fists balled is really difficult to do. But like, at the end of the day, I do still think Anthony Davis and LeBron James, in or close to their primes, is worth investing in, because, and like, we're seeing this same conversation take place with the Golden State Warriors, where they're like, man, we sure don't know what we want to do with the Pigs for what we want the team to look like after Steph. Motherfuckers, you guys have Steph. He's still playing at an incredible level. The Lakers have Anthony Davis, who's a better player than Steph right now. It's like, he's still playing he's in his prime. You have Anthony Davis, who, like, kind of oscillates between top 5 player and top 15 player, depending on the night. Tonight he was closer to the 15 range. Yes, I do think that this team is worthy of that investment. Yes, I would be frustrated at the end of the year if the Lakers, and like today, Eric Pincus, now he wrote it in his piece that for Bleacher Report that according to executives that he has spoken to, the Lakers have not shown an interest in including Dalton Connect or Rui Hachimura, and including those guys in trades. People took that and ran with it as like the Lakers are not trading Dalton Connect or Rui Hachimura. I do think those guys are on the table. They have to be. Like, look at the only 2 players that should not be on the table are LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And then depending on how you feel about Austin Reeves, then you can maybe have a different conversation about like who he should or should not be on the table for. Every single other player on this team should be on the table. And that's the case for all teams out there. Every single serious playoff and or title contender has like 2 guys that are absolutely not tradable, not on the table whatsoever. And then everybody else on that roster should be considered movable. I don't care how happy the Lakers were to draft Dalton Connect where they did. He barely had a bounce back game tonight. He shot 15% from 3 in December. He made like 3 more threes in all of December than you and I did. So like, this notion that like, because it was a win for Rob Pelinka, that like, therefore that can't be, that player shouldn't be or won't be included in trades. One, I think that's sometimes overplayed to a certain extent. But two, if it isn't overplayed to that certain extent, it's because like Rob Pelinka likes to really hold on tight to the few wins that he gets, and that kind of gets himself into trouble because it makes it harder to continue that forward momentum after you get those wins. So I do like this game sucks. I'm ranting and raving about it, but even given how annoying and frustrated and how pissed off I am by that game, I still think this team is worth investing in. And I will only not feel that way as soon as Anthony Davis and LeBron James tell me over a large sample size that they definitely shouldn't be invested in. Marley Villasenor writes, AD missing 5 wide open layups is very weird. Also, the second game in a row that a team puts a much smaller forward on AD and it affects his production. That's a great note, Marley. I think so. Kareem used to deal with this back even when like he was in his prime, where like low center of gravity guys would really give him issues. Moses Malone comes to mind. Now, Moses gave everybody problems, but like specifically with Kareem, if you like Kareem couldn't move Moses. In fact, Moses was moving Kareem more often than not. And AD likes to play very tall. He doesn't really bend his knees as like that well. And like what that means is if you are not bending your knees very well, which is going to raise your center of gravity, and you're playing against a guy whose center of gravity is like underground, as some of these matchups have been. You know, Dylan Brooks made AD look a little uncomfortable. And some of the guys tonight made him look pretty uncomfortable. If that is what's going on, then like, you know, AD isn't going to have the advantages that you would like to have him have. And then like also AD is currently dealing with an ankle issue. He is constantly dealing with foot problems this year, and like just in general, like is very reticent to you know, contact that would put his physical well-being at risk. And like I'm not saying that as a criticism, we all are. But when those players get up into Anthony Davis, he tends to rely more on floaters and hook shots and push shots and all of that stuff. And that is like exactly what those matchups want from him. Lastly, too, on this point, I just said this a second ago, talking about the team that I coached. Um, Smaller players get away with a lot more in terms of physicality on the court, and referees respond a lot more viscerally to charges and stuff like that when the defender is much smaller. And I think AD is always very conscious of that. So between the physicality, the discomfort that comes from those guys being kind of in his bubble all game, and then also the way that the sport is refereed, it does lead to some issues there. One thing I would like kind of look for if I were the Lakers is like more high-low opportunities or more pick and roll opportunities that would allow AD to catch the ball over the defense. You know, like anything that like, you know, to me, my favorite example of this was what Powell and Bynum would look like, or what Lamar and Powell or Lamar and Bynum would look like. Where, you know, it was, or like, you know, even better, those Powell Lamar lineups were just incredible. But you know, Powell also kind of wired the same way as AD, and would sometimes, you know, like when somebody like PJ Tucker or Chuck Hayes you know, was a guy for the Houston Rockets back then, who had legs built like tree trunks and was like a fire hydrant out there. And it was even more perfect that he would wear that Houston Rocket bright red uniform that they would wear. and he would look like a fire hydrant out there. Like actual dogs would walk onto the court and pee on him sometimes because they thought he was an actual fire hydrant. That guy, those kinds of players were really difficult for Powell to move. So what the Lakers would normally do is they would, catch those guys leaning really hard on Powell, and then you'd have that spin move, and Lamar would have the ball at the high post, and he would just throw the ball over the top of his defender and over the top of Powell's defender, and the Lakers would get opportunities that way. LeBron is tall enough to do that, and I wish the Lakers would use those kinds of concepts a little bit more. But I think what we've seen the last couple of games is the Lakers offense go back to too much of the matchup hunting stuff, and it takes him out of the rhythm. It means the ball moves a lot less. I think it leads to a lot of turnovers because they wind up taking like 15 seconds to get to that matchup. And then that player only winds up having about like 5 or 6 seconds left to actually make their move. And it leads to either a forced jumper or a skip pass that gets turned over or something like that. And the Lakers, who are terrible in transition on defense, wind up getting put in transition on defense, and it really hurts. So yeah, great observation though, in general about the types of matchups that do give Anthony Davis some issues. The best example of that obviously is Draymond Green, who just, Anthony Davis hates playing against him. All right, Marley again. Also, Dorian Finney-Smith was the only positive plus minus. It's obvious he needs to play more. Start and close over Rui. Is JJ protecting Rui's feelings? I don't think it's a feelings thing. I think it's, Rui has been starting all year. The Lakers before these last couple games were 20-14. And looked good with Rui starting. The season really kind of turned when the Lakers went to that starting lineup, and I could understand why JJ would be a little reluctant to go away from that starting group. That's like, again, people keep on wanting to compare, like, why am I so much nicer, or why do I offer so much more nuance and context to JJ Redick making a lot of the same decisions that Darvin Ham was making. But like, when Darvin wouldn't change the starting group, it wouldn't be a good starting group that he wasn't changing. In this case, when JJ takes his time in changing from that starting group, it's because that starting group had some real success before these last couple of games. So, but now that said, they've lost a couple in a row. Rui has been very frustrating to watch. JJ was clearly very frustrated in him a couple of games ago when he benched him 30 seconds into the second half. It's coming. Like, I do believe it's coming. It's just a matter of when. And like, whenever it happens, I do think that the process has been fine to arrive at that decision. All right, let's I think I'm gonna go ahead and that is a funny comment. Get D'Lo off this team. You're right. Yeah, they, it's, here's what I'll say. The Lakers' problems have never been one person at the coach or player level, right? Like, if we want to isolate the Lakers' problems, like, if the exercise was gun to your head, who is the only responsible person for the state of the Lakers right now? There is only one answer to that question, and it's Jeannie Buss, right? And like, every other potential candidate, in trying to explain why they would be most responsible, you would bring up issues that get traced beyond that person and land at Jeannie's feet. So, like, an example of this. The Lakers, I've been told for years now, are terrified of the Lonzo Balls out there, the Robert Williams, the like any player who has a lengthy history of injury concerns. The Lakers are just like, nope, absolutely not. Right? Cam Whitmore, Lakers were not interested in drafting him, even though like some of the draft like scout type people really liked him coming out of college. Lakers were like, nope, absolutely not. We're gonna go with Jalen Hood-Schifino, right? And then, ironically, but not necessarily surprisingly, Jalen hasn't been able to get or stay on the court because of his physical issues. And the Lakers, like all the while, as over the years, they have been completely reticent to go out and get talent or bet on talent guys who just have injury concerns. The reason they haven't they've been reluctant to do this because of like the results that they keep on having with their medical teams, who they don't pay very well compared to the rest of the league, who aren't given the best resources compared to the rest of the league, and are only given like a couple of years to figure out like how best to serve the team there. And like those are genie things. Like not investing in the medical team, that's a genie thing. Not investing in a bigger and more built out front office, that's a genie thing. Not employing a pro scout or not employing enough scouts around the across the board, that's a genie thing. Like these are all ownership things that like, the Lakers are only interested in spending on things that they feel they would get an immediate return from. That general approach to running a basketball organization, that's a genie thing. So like when I get comments of like, D'Lo, get D'Lo off this team, or is JJ any better than Ham? Is Rui any better? Like, is this team any better in this situation than things were under Russ? Or like, how does the Russ thing even happen? Like all of that stuff is just kind of noise. Like the real problem with the Lakers is that you have an ownership group headed by somebody who doesn't know what she's doing, doesn't have the resources to invest the way that she should be, and B, I'm not even positive would invest in those things even if she had the resources to be able to do so. So yeah, and look, the way that the buses have run the Lakers have led to 17 championships. And so to a certain extent, like this is what Jeannie was raised in. This is how she was taught to raise an organization. Now, she was taught those lessons in a very different NBA, in a very dumber NBA, and in an NBA where like everybody allocated resources the way that the Lakers did. They just happened to hire better people. Like she I'm not, giving her bail right now. I'm not floating her bail or anything like that. But like that context is important, that, her dad taught her either by actual, like, sit down, let's talk about how to do this type of lessons, or by action, and she just kind of followed in his footsteps. Like, yeah, like that's what she's gonna learn or how she's going to run the Lakers is gonna have everything to do with that life experience. So yeah, I understand where the comments are coming from, and I understand where the frustration is coming from. But yeah, like if you guys really, really, really want to get down to brass tacks and find somebody most responsible for all this stuff, it's none of the people that you're watching on a night to night basis. It's the person who gets to who profits off of all of those people that we watch on a night to night basis. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Gonna edit this, post it, schedule all that stuff, and then record tonight's lowdown as well. So keep an eye out for that on the RSS feed. That is an RSS exclusive, the lowdowns. So if you guys are watching live right now and would like to wake up every morning with an audio version of simply what you need to know about the Lakers, that is where you could find it. If you just search out Lakers Lounge on iTunes, on Spotify, on everywhere that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, you'd be able to find it there. So make sure you guys are tuned into that. And then also, again, please hit that subscribe button here for these kind of live streams and further breakdowns from there. So again, have a it's a frustrating loss. Lakers lose 118-97 in Dallas, despite Dallas not playing with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Annoying loss. Hopefully the kind of loss that wakes some people back up. I do think it's the kind of loss that leads to some changes in the starting lineup, and we'll see how that looks whenever those changes are implemented. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your day and make somebody else's, and I will talk to you